He's done it again. After years of people saying he would never do it again, years of people saying he would bottle it and never again get it over the line. Scott Carson has won the Champions League once again since last beating a Milan side in Istanbul with Liverpool. Great bit of trivia there, isn't it? Shout out my friend Jonas. But yes, guys, Manchester City have done it for the first time in their history, and Guardiola's "you can't do it without Messi" hoodoo is gone now. Not much else to say intro-wise. Let's talk about the match and then some aftermath and after thoughts. The first opportunity was one of those ones for Bernardo Silva where if you've played football, it feels as if the seas are just parting for you. Nobody is closing you down properly. You kind of question how lucky you are that things are just moving out of the way. And then he just curled it wide off of the far top corner from an acute angle. Now, the first signs of cracks defensively for City were from Ederson, just making strange decisions that seemed to be born maybe of the pressure of the final. I don't know. I'm talking about when he just hoofed it out when he didn't need to. Weird for a guy like him who is typically so calm with the ball at his feet that doesn't shy away from getting some touches in. And then when there was a high looping strike from Darmian that Lautaro just tracked, Ederson flapped at it. From there, we saw a decent spell from Inter, and I gotta give Inter credit for how they did well to keep City pinned in their own end. But for me, this suddenly frail-looking City backline in that first half was born of those nerves that Ederson showed. Nerves like that are contagious, and when someone in a defensive unit looks shaken, it gets others on edge as well. That kind of continued throughout the first half, a little bit in the second half at times. Another moment where he gave the ball away within City's own half, Ederson, it came to nothing, but Guardiola was screaming at him to relax following that misplay. You could tell that City were begging for a goal to settle those nerves in the first half, but would it come? No, it didn't. Anyway, I feel for Kevin De Bruyne as he once again went off injured in the Champions League final, just as he did against Chelsea 2 years ago, but a very different reason this time. It was a muscle injury this time, rather than a brutal shoulder barge from Rudiger. Right there, with what was happening with Ederson's nerves at the back, coupled with De Bruyne, one of their most important players, going off injured again, it felt like it could be one of those days, didn't it? With De Bruyne out, City lose so much of their running in the attack and all of his, brilliance on the ball. I thought that perhaps Alvarez would play just behind De Bruyne, but Pep went with Foden. I guess Pep has done enough in his career to ensure that, we should listen to Pep and not me. Anyway, the first half ended odds even, with neither side really having the edge at all. Sure, Haaland had a couple of moments, one of which was offside. But when you combine the shakes at the back from Ederson with how comfortable Inter looked defending and waiting to pick their moments, it was dead even. Once again in that first half, Pep's side continued to struggle against a back three, and once again, away from home, they struggled. They were forced into one sub already, and I personally felt like, with how little Grealish was doing, by his own admission after the game, he said he was shit. I'd give him another 5-10 minutes after the half before swapping Grealish with Alvarez and pushing Foden to the flank, but that didn't happen. As for Inter, this was going just as planned, I think. Sit back, be patient, pick your moments, force errors out of City's backline, and try to capitalize on the opportunities you get. That's the key. I would speculate on subs, but we know that Inzaghi always has them pre-planned, and that Lukaku would be coming on for Dzeko after about 10 minutes, which was all I wanted to see after the first half. Inter had very little presence up front. Lukaku would change that, while they were brilliant in defense and tracking all of City's runners in the attack. And it didn't take long for Lukaku to come on, nor for Inter to get a fantastic chance in the 58th minute, just after he came on. But it wasn't his doing. It was the sloppiness at the back from City again. Akanji with a poor back pass, Lautaro jumps on it, and he was selfish. He had both Lukaku and another teammate, editor Adrian, will circle him and name him because I can't remember who it was. But that was a massive opportunity for Inter to take the lead. With Ederson at his mercy, Lautaro fired it directly at him, and that was that. Good closing down from Ederson, you could say. In general, the final ball from both sides was majorly lacking. We'd see City looking decent going forward, Haaland on the ball with Foden making a run through the inside left, but he could only find a defender. Same sort of lack of quality in the final third from both sides. But the one time that Inter's defense looked like they weren't fully in the game, they conceded. Opportunism from Man City. Great through ball from Akanji to the little magician Bernardo on the right, and his cutback deflected and bounced to the edge of the box where Rodri smashed it in. A bit disappointing from Çalhanoğlu and Darmian, who both turned away from the strike as it ripped past them, but I mean, credit to Rodri for bending it around the defenders into the near post. Did that settle City's nerves, finally getting that goal? Honestly, not really, as their defense shut off completely shortly after, leading to DiMarco's looping header going off the bar and the rebound being headed off of Lukaku's ankle. I feel for the guy. Nothing he could do on this one, but it reminded me somehow of the own goal he scored in his last European final, the Europa League against Sevilla. An own goal and a potentially blocked goal for him, but this time, let's be honest, everyone likes to dogpile and laugh, but there was nothing he could do for that one. After that, City nearly doubled their lead thanks to a stunning turn from Foden. Spun his defender, but his strike was a bit tame and Onana smothered it. And all of those moments where Ederson looked shaken early in this game, he made up for it in a big way. But I hate to say it, Lukaku's header was poor. With Gosens heading the ball back across goal, Lukaku headed it directly into the ground, right down the middle. Ederson didn't know much about it at all. He was just getting back in position. In fact, how Ruben Dias dealt with the awkward rebound was almost more impressive than Ederson's save in a way. I mean, if he was to be in that situation 10 times, I think that a fair few, he would be heading inside his own post. But you gotta say, Lukaku could have been better there, channeling his form from the Croatia match at the World Cup. Big game Lukaku isn't hitting. And the thing is, when you're playing against City, if you want to beat them, those are the moments that you have to capitalize on. No excuses. Sure, he was unfortunate when he accidentally blocked DiMarco's header. There was nothing he could really do there. But Lukaku's header, Lautaro trying to score when he has two players in the box and Ederson at his mercy, moments like this, those are going to haunt his side for a long time. Anyway, Ederson's comeback in this final, the mental comeback from shaky to arguably decisive with how he cut down Lautaro, saved that Lukaku chance. Huge performance from him. And he had to have the final touch of the game as well, saving a flicked corner from Gosens, and shortly after, the final whistle blew. For the first time ever, Manchester City have won the Champions League and have become just the second English side to win the treble. 1-0 City. Man of the match in this one, for me, it has to be either Rodri or Stones or Ruben Dias. I mean, Rodri was clean and scored the winning goal, while Stones was everywhere once again, as he has been since the beginning of March for City. I made that video about how he has changed their season. I stand by that. Go back and watch it. You'll see. However, some heroics from Ederson as well, while Ruben Dias was a monster, man. In my opinion, Ruben Dias was the man of the match. And here's some supporting evidence from Squawka. 100% of tackles and take-ons made, most duels won, most aerial duels won, most clearances, 0 times dribble passed, and not a single foul, which, believe me, as a guy who has watched Ruben Dias for ages, 0 fouls is a huge evolution from him. Guardiola has won the Champions League without Lionel Messi. Italian teams made all 3 European finals this season and lost all 3, which is a glass half empty, half full kind of debate, isn't it? Do you acknowledge the accomplishment of having 3 teams, 1 in each competition, in the finals? And if you do, how much stock do you put in all 3 losing one-off matches for varying reasons, really? A shootout loss, some shady refereeing in that one as well, a last-minute loss against West Ham, and then this against probably the best team in Europe. Just 1-0, and you maybe outplayed them. Well, I guess not probably the best team in Europe. We can say definitively now the best team in Europe. And coming back to this match in particular, as I was mentioning earlier, it was simply a matter of taking your opportunities, and in the end, Inter had the better opportunities, which will make this an even tougher pill to swallow. I checked the XG at the end of this game just out of curiosity to see if this hunch was correct, and I was shocked. City with an XG of 0.95, Inter 2.07. More than twice that of Manchester City. You don't win matches by creating good chances, you win it by putting them away. I think a lot of people who don't watch Inter or Serie A will have been surprised by this final a little bit. I mean, just the other day on a video, someone commented how City would smash Inter 6-0, but they found out quickly that yes, City is a great side and they can tear teams apart, but Inter and the way that they play are almost like the antidote to the sore that is City. What am I saying here? Let's just say they're the antithesis to City in some ways. And with some patience and calm around goal, maybe they could have made it 4 titles. Anyway, about City now. I am very curious to see where they go from here. Guardiola is contracted for a further 2 years, runs out in June of 2025, and I'm sure he would love to retain this title, and you wouldn't put it past him to do so. You would assume that City will make another signing or 2, as they are likely to lose a few players. Bernardo Silva is a player who is apparently close to leaving, Gundogan. I mean, now that both have their titles, will they push for moves? Will Gundogan sign on again? Perhaps my favorite, little Bernardo. My favorite to watch right now. Benfica association helps, of course, but just from the eye test, watching him play, if you love football, you've got to love watching Bernardo. Anyway, yeah, I'm interested to see what happens with this City squad. For the most part, they're in great shape as far as age goes. De Bruyne and Gundogan were the oldest players on the park for City at 31 and 32 respectively. Gundogan's future is really up in the air, and I forgot that Walker came on as well. He's also 32, but you'd never ever guess it with the way that he moves about the pitch. City certainly aren't wanting for any depth at the moment, but you do have to wonder how much longer the likes of Mahrez, Foden, Alvarez will be happy just sitting on the bench, match in, match out at City. Yes, they won titles, but players who would walk into plenty of starting 11s across Europe. But like I said, I think the most likely scenario is that City continue on as probably the top contender for the Champions League next season. There's a long way to go this summer, of course, when it comes to transfers, etc. So we'll see what the likes of Real Madrid do to fill in the Benzema-sized hole in the attack. We'll see if Barca mount a better challenge in the competition or if they'll continue to crumble in Europe. We'll see how Bayern, with a full preseason under Tuchel and some recruitment, if they can find some form again. As for Inter, tough times could be ahead for them when it comes to their finances or what have you. But honestly, man, I feel like we've been hearing that every single summer with Inter, and yet every single season they find a way to win silverware. And that's on Inzaghi. Give Limone his flowers, because it was through his coaching and tactics that Inter made it to the final and could have defeated City with some cleaner finishing. It was his coaching and tactics that got them to win yet another Coppa Italia. And with what we're hearing about Inter summer, it will be down to him once again if Inter are to find any success next season. In the end, guys, I don't think that there will be many that will argue against the fact that City have been the best team in Europe this season. Maybe not in this particular final, but across the entire season. They won the Premier League, the FA Cup, and in this competition, they had to go through RB Leipzig, Bayern Munich, and Real Madrid in the knockout stages. 2023 brought their first European Cup. Don't be surprised if they're in the final again next season, as the other big clubs try to play catch up this summer. All right, guys, thanks for watching this video and thanks for taking in the Champions League with me once again this season. We'll still have content for you guys throughout the summer. Don't worry, a couple of videos per week at least. But beyond that, I hope you take some time to enjoy yourselves this summer. I'm going to redo some of the backyard, honestly. I have a lawn to lay out some sod for. So instead of watching football on the weekends, you'll find me tending to the backyard. But anyways, guys, thanks so much once again for watching. I'm Adrian, and we'll see you in the next video. Ciao.